Hi, my name is Brandon Graves, and today we're going to spend a little time learning about how to educate kids about the attacks on September 11th, 2001. I've been an educator of elementary students for 15 years, so I've had to tackle this and other sensitive subject matter several times. 9/11 is very personal to me. I was attending college in Washington, D.C. at the time that this country was under attack. I can still remember the moment the planes hit the Pentagon. I can remember friends' faces when they couldn't contact their loved ones. And I can still remember the sight and smell of smoke that still billowed from the Pentagon days after the attack. We are approaching the 20th anniversary of September 11th. And as educators, many of us will be teaching and facilitating lessons that teach kids all about the events and participants of that historic day. The purpose of this video is to highlight what are the best practices for handling such mature content with such a young age group. Even though the GGC lessons are developed for elementary students, we know that the language and activities appropriate for a 4th or 5th grader are not necessarily the language and activities appropriate for a kindergartner. In this video, we will discuss best practices for kindergarten through 3rd grade and 4th through 5th grade. When we develop lessons and activities, we always want to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this lesson? What information or concepts do I want students to walk away with? 3 main concepts are: 1, there was an event in this country which we called 9/11. This event affected the entire country. 2, there were many heroes on that day and in the days after. And 3, although we were faced with tragedy, we emerged triumphant. Ready? Let's dive in. Let's start with kindergarten through 3rd. How do you explain terms like Al-Qaeda, Twin Towers, mass chaos, and terrorism to a 5 or 6-year-old? Those are some pretty heavy concepts that their brain might not be developed enough to understand. So let's start with what they can understand. They understand problems, they understand being afraid, and they definitely understand needing help. Start by asking, what are some problems you face and who are some people who can help? After this discussion, reveal the problem. In New York and Washington, D.C., approximately 20 years ago, some bad people flew planes into a building. Many people were hurt and many were afraid. In fact, that's what the bad guys wanted. They wanted people to be afraid. This can be done through a GGC video, a picture book, or teacher-to-student interaction. Now, your average kid hears that, and the first question is, why would someone do that? For this early age, stick to the basics. We don't know why someone would do this, but the same way some people do great things, there are some people who do bad things. After you have introduced the problem, begin conversation around some of the heroes that helped America get through this huge problem or tragedy. Police, EMS, firefighters are all heroes who showed up that day and in the days after to help. After introducing heroes and their roles, you can begin teaching about where are we now and how far we have come. People fly planes without fear. There are safety precautions at airports. There has not been another attack on U.S. soil in the past 20 years. The important thing to emphasize is that after problems and tragedy, things will get better. Students at this age can definitely comprehend all of the concepts you want them to take away without being introduced to more complex topics like radical Islam, Islamophobia, or weapons of mass destruction. Now let's focus on 4th and 5th grade. By 4th and 5th grade, students have a concept of history and events that have happened in the past. They also have the ability to remove themselves from events without internalizing them, meaning they can learn about a tragic event and not live in fear that the event will happen in their own life. They can also comprehend more complex concepts, cause and effect relationships, and historical perspective. With this age group, start with a KWL chart. A KWL chart allows students to answer before the lesson, what do you already know? Before or after the introduction, what do you want to know? And after the lesson, what did you learn? Begin by giving facts about the morning. This could be done by visiting the timeline on the GGC 9/11 website, watching a GGC video, exploring a children's picture book, or through teacher-student interaction. You want students to understand the events of the day and places and buildings affected. You want to discuss responses from professionals like police, firefighters, and EMS, and responses from regular citizens like pastors who opened their churches so responders could sleep on site, or restaurant owners who fed responders for free. GGC believes everyone is a hero, and many became a hero on that day and in the days following. Personal stories from people who were there will also allow students to make personal connection. No matter what grade level you are teaching, here are some best practices to remember. Be knowledgeable. As an educator, you should be educated on the subject you are teaching. Learn as much information as you can about 9/11 so that you can inform students and answer questions as they arise. Stick with the facts. With these lessons, it's not appropriate to assert your own personal beliefs on religion or government or support or lack thereof of either. Address what happened, when, and what happened next. Discuss key players and their roles. Be aware of triggers. Be conscious that sensitive topics like 9/11, where death and injury have occurred, could stir up students' personal connection with death and injury. Allow students a space where they can separate themselves and process personal emotions that might arise. Be honest if you have a lack of information. It is always okay to say, "I don't know," as questions arise that you don't have the answers to. Tell a student you don't have the answer or that you can get back with them. You could even research the answer together. I hope you've enjoyed this video and are now ready to take on the role and responsibility of teaching about the events and the amazing heroes of September 11th, 2001.